After the lion attack, the baboons scattered. The deaths made the vigilance of the group become an obsession. Every noise, every wind blowing the grass startled them. Food was getting scarce. The lions still wandered around the edge of the forest. With no other choice, the group decided to leave their old land. The bloody migration began. A new kingdom, the baboon troop, and the bloody migration. The sun had not yet risen high, but the air on the Kenyan grasslands was already heavy with fear. Where the baboons once gathered, now there were only messy footprints imprinted on the dry ground. In the distance, the first rays of the morning sun shone through the mist, shining on the tree trunks that were dry and bent by the sun. The wind blew through the burnt yellow grasslands, carrying the faint metallic smell of the previous night's hunt. Somewhere, the lion's cry echoed low, far away, but enough to startle the entire herd, the instinct of vigilance rising strongly like a spasm in the heart. All was silent, a strange silence, as if the entire savanna was holding its breath. No more familiar chirping, no more herd calls spreading far in the wind. The surviving baboons sat scattered around the bare tree stumps, their eyes empty and alert, their ears always pricked up, their bodies tense with fear. From a high mound of earth, the leader stood upright, looking towards the red horizon. The land that had once nourished them was now only a memory of blood and roars. And in that cold dawn, a decision was formed. It was time to leave. As the first rays of sunlight reached the ground, the baboons began to move. No cheers, no usual commotion. Only the soft sound of footsteps on the dry grass, mixed with the sound of the wind whistling through the withered thorn bushes. They left like ghosts, carrying with them the memories of the night of slaughter. The leader led the way, slowly walking across the open land where the battle had taken place. Behind him, the females held their calves tightly to their chests, while the young males walked cautiously on either side, forming a human fence to protect the herd. Their eyes constantly scanned the horizon, where the red dust still smelled of the predator. The sun was high, The heat seemed to weigh down the air, slowing all movement. The baboons had left the dry grass, following the steep slopes that led to the dry valley. In the distance, a herd of impalas grazed silently, a fragile piece in the scorching afternoon. But from the edge of the steppe, shadows were moving. In the thorn bushes, a pair of cheetahs, the wind-swept predators of the grasslands, their bodies lean, their muscles coiled under their pale yellow-spotted fur. Their eyes focused on the youngest prey in the herd. Every step, every breath, death was approaching. The baboon stopped. From the high mound, the leader watched as his eyes caught the faint movement in the grass. His vigilance instincts kicked in. He was not afraid for himself, but for the young ones following behind. A signal sounded, a deep, decisive howl. The whole herd immediately gathered. From the opposite direction, a group of baboons charged like a small storm. They charged straight at the cheetahs. A rare sight on the grasslands. The cheetahs backed away, skidding on the ground, then darted away in a cloud of dust. All were safe. The herd quickly retreated north, continuing their unfinished journey. Behind them, the wind whipped up a hazy dust, erasing all traces of the brief encounter, leaving only the heat and the echoes of a burning survival instinct. The afternoon slowly descended on the Kenyan savanna. The evening wind blew, light but dry, carrying the smell of dust and burnt grass. The last rays of sunlight slid down the backs of the baboons, dyeing their dusty gray fur a deep bronze. The baboons stopped after the fierce encounter. The whole group scattered under the low thorn bushes, looking for a rare bit of shade. Panting could be heard everywhere, interspersed with the soft squeals of the young monkeys from hunger and thirst. The sand was burning hot underfoot. The old water holes had dried up. Leaving only cracked mud. A few females licked the damp branches, looking for some moisture from the previous night's dew. The new day passed. The wind carried the smell of wet soil and the scent of new grass, a scent that the steppe only gave to those who were persistent enough to survive until the end of the day. Everything was temporarily peaceful after the long journey. The white clouds gradually dissipated, covering them with a thin layer of mist like the breath of life that had just been revived. The baboons began a new journey today. The whole group moved rhythmically across the damp slope, looking for a path and food. After many days of traveling, the baboons finally saw a green land looming beyond the thick trees, the ground covered with damp moss, and the babbling of a small stream. It was the promised land, a place of shade, food, and water. Excited cries rang out. The troop quickened their pace. From within the shade of the trees, a few more pairs of eyes were watching. Another group of baboons, larger, darker-haired, and fierce-looking, was blocking the way. They had been here for a long time, and this forest was their territory. In the world of baboons, territory was life. Losing it meant death. There was no greeting. Only hoarse screams rang out from both sides. The air was thick, as tense as a bowstring. Every screech, every movement could be a signal to start a war. Immediately, a fight broke out. A few of the native males retreated to the edge of the forest, their eyes filled with resentment but tiredness. The herd, despite heavy losses, still held on. They had won, but it was a bloody victory. The sky gradually darkened. Black clouds rolled in from the horizon, rolling like giant smoke clouds over the forest that had just experienced a bloodstorm. Then, in that quiet moment, the first drops of rain fell. One, two, then hundreds, thousands of tiny drops, but carrying great vitality. The ground bubbled. The red dust melted into thin mud. The monkeys raised their heads, their eyes shining in amazement. The young ones reached out to catch each drop of water, a cool feeling they had not known for many days. The sound of falling rain mixed with the soft cries of the whole herd, not of fear but of relief. Against the dark sky, lightning flashed, illuminating each skinny body, each drop of water on the dusty gray fur. The leader stood still, letting the rain pour down, his eyes squinting as he looked up at the sky as if thanking nature for the brief moment of grace. The next dawn. The sky was clear as if washed, the warm yellow sunlight falling on the wet ground. The air carried the scent of new earth, the scent of fresh grass, and the gentle humidity of rebirth. The baboons woke up early. Water droplets still lingered on their gray fur, their eyes shining in the new sunlight. No more screaming, no more smell of blood. Only the sound of running water and soft calls to each other. In the middle of the forest, life continued, as if no war had ever happened. In the harsh land of Kenya, the cycle of life began again. There was no victory, no defeat, only nature, and the small creatures constantly learning to stand up after each storm. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, scattering streaks of yellow light on the soil still wet from the night's rain. the baboons were settled in the new forest. They climbed low trees, drying their still moist fur. The chirping was no longer fearful. Only the rhythm of life had returned to peace. From above, the leader stood still, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, where the sunlight reflected off the misty ground. There, a red dust cloud rose, swirling in the wind like a giant living cloud. A faint echo echoed the heavy, slow, but intense stomping of feet. The baboon's instinctive blood made it realize something was coming. Not a predator. Another force, ancient, enormous, and unstoppable. The heavy, deep sound began to spread, merging with the wind. From the horizon, the Cape buffalo appeared, like a black wave rolling across the sea of grass. The dust rose, obscuring the Kenyan sky. And so, the cycle of the savannah continued to turn. When one creature was at peace, another began to enter a new test of survival. The ground shook under thousands of footsteps. A sea of muscle moved slowly, covered with red dust. The light reflected off their dark skin, making them look like giant boulders floating on a sea of grass. The Cape buffalo is a giant African beast, a symbol of strength, endurance, and absolute unity. A mature male can weigh nearly a ton, with horns curved like forged steel bars. Each step they take echoes an ancient song of life into the ground. The herd moves in a tight formation. The large males form the outer ring, the females and calves in the center. They are almost never separated, because in this world, solitude means death. But in this wild world, no journey goes unnoticed. Behind the red dust, the lions have set off. They silently follow the giant migration, where every exhausted buffalo can become a feast for the ruler of the savannah. From the shade of the acacia forest, golden eyes shone in the early morning light. The lionesses, their bodies covered in dry dust, were moving slowly, silently, like shadows. They kept a sufficient distance, avoiding letting the wind carry their scent to the ears of the giants ahead. On the steppe, stalking was never rushed. Lions were patient hunters. They could stalk their prey for days, just waiting for the moment an individual was separated from the herd. It crouched low, muscles coiled under its dark yellow skin. The lion charged out. The entire steppe exploded. The giant males immediately turned to counterattack, charging straight at the hunter. The fight only lasted a few dozen seconds, but it was a decisive moment between instinct and strength. A powerful gore made the buffalo stand firm, throwing the hunter far away. The pride of lions dispersed, each retreating into the grass, their eyes still burning with hunger. They had not given up. They were just waiting for another opportunity. The red glow gradually spread across the sea of grass, illuminating the dusty figures slowly leaving after the fight. The Cape buffalo continued their journey, slowly but steadily. In the distance, in the thickening darkness of dusk, the pride of lions still watched silently, their golden eyes glowing like unburned embers. Both species understood that the fight between them was never really over. The wind blew, carrying the red dust, the smell of sweat, and the scent of blood fading in the air. On this endless savanna, each sunset was just the beginning of another day of survival. But the Kenyan night never brought only peace. When the moon rose, the savanna changed color, and the predators became bolder than ever. In the next episode, the lions will return, and a fierce hunt will determine who is the true master of this land. Don't miss it, because in the wild, every breath, every ray of light can be the last minute of life. Don't forget to ring the bell and subscribe to not miss the next wildlife survival series.